You sent a message, they read it, they didn't reply. 2 hours later, still nothing. 3 hours, you check again. Still nothing. You start overthinking. Did they get it? Are they upset? Should you send a follow-up? Is a follow-up too much? What if the follow-up makes it worse? This is modern communication, the fastest, most connected, most instant messaging system in the history of the universe, and it still somehow produces the exact same anxiety as not knowing if your friend is alive. Now imagine doing this in 500 BC. No phone, no paper, no writing system at all. You need to send a message to someone 2 villages away urgently, and your options are: walk there yourself, yell very loudly, and hope the wind cooperates, or find someone willing to run. That's it. Those are the options. Welcome to the history of human communication, where every single upgrade took centuries of frustration to invent. And yet somehow, eventually, we figured out how to send a cat video to someone on the other side of the planet in under a second. Let's go back to the beginning. Before language existed, communication was simple. You saw danger, you made a noise. You found food, a different noise. You wanted someone to stop, you pushed them. That was basically it. Early hominins communicated through body language, vocal sounds, and touch. And here's the first wow fact. Chimpanzees have been observed using over 60 distinct gestures intentionally, deliberate signals other chimps understand, for things like, follow me, stop that, climb on my back. We likely inherited a version of this system. Then, around 300,000 to 500,000 years ago, the human vocal tract began changing shape. The larynx dropped lower. The tongue got more flexible. The mouth could produce a far wider range of sounds than any other primate. Here's the weird trade-off. That same change makes humans far more likely to choke on food than any other animal. Every other primate can breathe and swallow at once. Humans cannot. We literally risk death to be able to talk. Worth it, apparently. Nobody knows exactly when real language began. It leaves no fossil record. But by 100,000 years ago, the equipment was fully in place. And once patterns of sound started meaning specific things, humans could finally talk about what wasn't right in front of them. The past, the future, things that didn't exist yet. That's called displacement. A bee's waggle dance tells other bees where flowers are right now. It cannot discuss where they were last Tuesday or where they might be next spring. Humans can, and that changed everything. Speech is amazing, fast, expressive, infinitely flexible. It also disappears the moment you stop talking. The first time humans made communication permanent was a massive moment, and it happened not with paper or ink, but with charcoal, ochre, and cave walls. The oldest known cave paintings are in Sulawesi, Indonesia, dating to at least 51,000 years ago. A hand stencil, a warty pig, a hunting scene. Someone pressed their hand against a rock wall, blew pigment around it, and created something that survived 51,000 years. More durable than anything you've ever made. And here's what's interesting. These weren't just decoration. Many archaeologists believe they were information storage, records of migration patterns and hunting strategies, painted into stone for people who hadn't even been born yet. The Lascaux caves in France, painted roughly 17,000 years ago, contain 364 individual animals across 915 depictions. That's not decoration. That's a catalog. And there's something stranger. The same symbols, triangles, lines, dots, spirals, handprints, appear on cave walls across Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas, in cultures with no contact with each other. Researcher Genevieve von Petzinger identified 32 recurring signs used worldwide, the same 32, which raises a genuinely mind-bending possibility. We may be looking at the earliest attempts at a universal language, scratched into rock walls by firelight 50,000 years ago. Cave paintings solved storing information. They didn't solve sending it. If an enemy was approaching a distant village, you couldn't exactly mail them a cave painting. So humans got creative, brilliantly clever, or completely insane, depending on your view. Smoke signals were used across multiple continents. Indigenous North Americans, ancient Chinese forces, ancient Greeks, all independently. The Great Wall of China had a fire signal system that could relay a message 750 kilometers in a few hours. In 200 BC without a single written word. Light one tower, the next tower sees it and lights theirs. The message moves at the speed of visibility, faster than any runner. Talking drums, across West and Central Africa, went even further. Skilled drummers could send full sentences and names using rhythms that mimicked spoken tone at around 100 words per minute, across distances where shouting would be inaudible. When European explorers arrived in West Africa, villages miles away already knew they were coming. The news had traveled by drum faster than anyone could walk. When the electric telegraph debuted in Europe, people called it revolutionary because information could finally travel faster than a person. West African communities had been doing exactly that with drums for generations. They just never got the credit. Around 3400 BCE in Mesopotamia, somebody invented writing and changed the trajectory of civilization more than almost anything else. Here's the part nobody tells you. The first thing humans ever wrote wasn't poetry or history or philosophy. It was receipts. The earliest written records are Sumerian clay tablets tracking grain, livestock, and beer rations. 47 sheep received from Kushim. The world's first named writer, Kushim, was not a poet or a prophet. He was an accountant. Writing didn't come from artistic expression. It came from needing to know how much grain was in the warehouse. But once the technology existed, it exploded. Within centuries, Sumerian writing became full cuneiform, capable of recording laws, medicine, and literature. The Epic of Gilgamesh, written around 2100 BCE, is the oldest known work of literature in human history, still readable today. Around the same time, Egyptians developed hieroglyphics, the Chinese developed oracle bone script, and the Indus Valley developed a script we still haven't decoded. Multiple cultures independently all arrived at the same conclusion. Spoken words disappear. Written ones don't. That means knowledge could finally accumulate across generations instead of dying with the people who held it. A law written by a king dead for 300 years could still govern his kingdom. Writing didn't just let humans communicate across distance, it let them communicate across time. Writing was extraordinary, but it had one problem. It didn't move by itself. A tablet written in Babylon just sat in Babylon until someone carried it elsewhere. Enter the messenger. The Persian Royal Road, built around 500 BCE, stretched 2,700 kilometers with relay stations and fresh horses that could move a message the entire length in about 7 days. Riders famously undeterred by neither snow nor rain, nor heat nor darkness. A line now inscribed on the New York City post office. The Roman cursus publicus was even more organized. Relay stations every 25 to 50 kilometers could move official messages 800 kilometers in 24 hours. But the most extraordinary system was the Inca chasquis. The Inca Empire stretched over 4,000 kilometers along the Andes with no writing system at all. Instead, relay runners called chasquis sprinted between huts every 2 to 3 kilometers, moving a message 2,400 kilometers in about 3 days. The Inca emperor could receive fresh fish from the Pacific coast, 600 kilometers away within 24 hours, on foot in the mountains, faster than anything Europe had until horse-drawn mail coaches arrived in the 1700s. For roughly 3,000 years, the fastest communication technology on Earth was a bird. Carrier pigeons were used from at least 2,500 BCE in Egypt and Persia. The Greeks sent Olympic results by pigeon, Julius Caesar used them in Gaul, and Genghis Khan built his empire's communication system around them. Raise a pigeon at home, transport it elsewhere, attach a message, release it. It flies home. Simple. A homing pigeon can travel 1,000 kilometers in a single flight, navigating by the Earth's magnetic field and the sun, without GPS. A pigeon named Cher Ami in World War I flew 40 kilometers through active artillery fire, was shot through the breast, lost a leg, was blinded in one eye, and still delivered its message, saving nearly 200 trapped soldiers. It received the Croix de Guerre, a bird awarded a military medal because it communicated better than the humans could. Reuters, the news agency, was partly founded on a pigeon network. In 1850, 45 pigeons carried stock prices between Brussels and Aachen, and the last official military pigeon unit in the world wasn't retired until 2004, not the 1900s. 2004. In 1440, a German goldsmith named Johannes Gutenberg changed the world. Before the press, books were handwritten one at a time. A single volume could take a scribe months or years and cost roughly the price of a small house. Literacy was rare because books were rare. Gutenberg's press could produce 3,600 pages a day compared to a scribe's 4 or 5. Within 50 years, over 20 million books had been printed in Europe, a continent that had produced maybe a few 100,000 manuscripts in the previous 1,000 years. Here's the wow fact. The press didn't just spread information faster, it changed what information could even exist. Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to a church door in 1517. Within 2 weeks, printed copies had spread across Germany. Within 2 months, all of Europe. The Protestant Reformation, the Scientific Revolution, and the Enlightenment all happened in large part because ideas could now spread exactly as written to ordinary people who could finally afford to read them. One machine, invented by one man in 1 decade, reshaped the political and intellectual structure of human civilization. Johannes Gutenberg himself died nearly bankrupt, having lost his own press in a lawsuit. History is not always fair to its most important people. The postal system let anyone who could write reach anyone else who could write, across cities and countries. England opened the Royal Mail to public use in 1635. Before that, you needed a merchant heading the right way or your own servant, or you just didn't send it. The real revolution came in 1840 when Rowland Hill introduced the penny black, the world's first adhesive postage stamp. Before it, postage was paid by the receiver based on distance, and people frequently refused letters they couldn't afford to collect. Hill's fix: a flat rate paid up front by the sender, deliverable anywhere in the country. In the first year, the number of letters sent in Britain quadrupled. Working-class families separated by migration could finally afford to stay in touch. It's one of the most democratizing inventions in communication history. Before it, long-distance writing was for the rich. After it, for everyone. It kept getting faster. Railway mail in the 1830s, letters crossing England in a day by the 1850s, crossing the Atlantic in under 2 weeks by steamship. Communication was going global, but it was still, fundamentally, slow. That was about to change, violently. On May 24, 1844, Samuel Morse tapped out a message in dots and dashes from Washington, D.C. to Alfred Vail in Baltimore, 60 kilometers away. What hath God wrought? It arrived in seconds. The telegraph was the first time in human history that information could travel faster than a physical object, faster than a horse, a ship, anything. Within 20 years, cables connected every major city in the U.S. and Europe. In 1866, the first transatlantic cable connected North America and Europe, 4,000 kilometers laid across the Atlantic floor. A message that once took 10 to 14 days by ship now took minutes. Financial markets became globally connected overnight. Newspapers could report events from thousands of miles away within hours. Real-time global awareness was born. When the first transatlantic cable was completed in 1858, celebrations in New York were so enthusiastic that City Hall accidentally set itself on fire during the fireworks. But the telegraph had one fundamental limit. It needed wires. Physical cables connecting every point, expensive and fragile to lay. What if you could do it without the wires? In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell spoke the first words ever transmitted by telephone. "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." His assistant was in the next room, but the implication was enormous. Actual human voice, transmitted electrically for the first time. The telephone spread fast. 150,000 phones in the U.S. by 1886, 5.8 million by 1910. But it still needed wires. In 1895, Guglielmo Marconi figured out how to transmit signals through the air using electromagnetic waves. In 1901, he sent a wireless signal across the Atlantic, from Cornwall to Newfoundland. The message was just the letter S in Morse code, 3 dots. But those 3 dots meant no wires needed, ever again. Radio turned out to be revolutionary beyond the military for one reason. It was the first technology that could reach everyone simultaneously. A printing press sends one copy to one person at a time. One radio transmitter reaches every receiver in range at once. By the 1930s, Franklin Roosevelt's fireside chats reached 60 million Americans simultaneously, and Winston Churchill's wartime speeches were heard live across Britain and much of the world. Communication had stopped being between individuals. It had become something between one person and an entire society, all at once. In 1969, a computer at UCLA sent a message to a computer at Stanford. It was supposed to say, "Login." The system crashed after 2 letters. The first message ever sent over what would become the internet was LO, a beautiful accident, or the universe saying hello. The early internet, ARPANET, was a U.S. military project designed to survive a nuclear attack. Information would travel across a distributed network, finding alternate routes if any connection broke. That single design decision meant the internet had no central point of control, no single owner, no off switch. Email arrived in 1971. In 1991, Tim Berners-Lee at CERN created the World Wide Web and made it free for anyone to use. In 1993, there were 130 websites. By 2000, 17 million. Today, over 1.5 billion. The internet compressed every previous communication revolution: writing, the press, the post, the telephone, radio, the telegraph, into one device available to anyone with a connection. The first iPhone launched in 2007. Today, there are 6.8 billion smartphones on a planet of 8 billion people. A device that fits in your pocket now contains more communication technology than existed in the entire world before 1900. A grunt, a gesture, a warning shout in the dark. That's where we started. Here's where we ended. A device that reaches anyone on Earth instantly, holds the sum of human knowledge, shows you events on the other side of the planet, and lets you send a message, then wait anxiously to see if they've read it. The technology changed. The anxiety didn't. Every upgrade, from cave paintings to the internet, was humans solving the same problem. Not a technical one, a human one. I want to be understood. I want to reach you, even when you're far away. That's what cave painters wanted, pressing their hands against stone walls 51,000 years ago. What the Inca Chasqui wanted, sprinting through the Andes with a knotted string. What Samuel Morse wanted, tapping his message across a wire to Baltimore. And what you want, checking your phone to see if someone responded. The technology gets faster. The human need never changes. We've always just been trying to say, I'm here. Can you hear me?